Hey everyone, Bob Kendall here. Just want to thank you all for watching my videos. If you do want to support the channel, go to www.kendallreport.com/wavetech. Sign up for our software. You get market grid on 165 individual stocks and indices. You also will get 16,500 buy and sell signals on our entire database. I thank you so much for supporting the channel. Those of you who have already signed up, thank you so much. Welcome to the Kendall Report, where I share my 41 years of experience to help you manage your portfolios and protect your wealth. Remember to subscribe, like, and share these videos. As we look back on yesterday's action, we did see some weakness early on, and then the market managed to get a good solid bid and move into an all-time new high. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, I was looking for a S1 R2 high, and it was almost spot on. We traded a little bit below S1, exactly on the R2 number on the upside. And as I also mentioned, is I'm still looking for more upside on a weekly basis, but there is still a lack of momentum. I'll go through all those details here in just a few minutes. As we continue to look back on yesterday, we did see a number of things happening. Anything to do with travel was up big. And I know that many of you that watch the channels, especially when we broadcast our WaveTech series, I did actually build live on this channel 2 portfolios. The first one was called the Buffett airline portfolio. The second one was for an intermediate model, which I built back in late October and early November of last year. Now this portfolio is just screaming, taking off. I'll show you some details along with the activity that's going on in our database, so I think it's really important to understand. And I always start off every night talking to you about how I help you manage your portfolios and protect your wealth. I don't do that through these videos, actually. These videos are meant to be for context for the folks that are using the software, so they have an idea what's going on in the database rotation, what type of momentum we have, and all those things. While I know many people watch this video for the content with all the market grid and other numbers and things that I talk about on a short-term analysis, this is really what this channel is about, and I want to emphasize that. And I am in the process. I worked quite a bit today on putting together our new channel that's going to be called ETF Hackers. We're going to show you how to eliminate Wall Street. So back to the analysis. As we go forward to this week, it's really important to understand that we are going to have a lot of information to digest. The markets are counting on the Fed to continue to pump, and that's likely what we're going to see. We do have today retail sales coming out. That's expected to come up 0.2. We also have industrial production that is coming out, expected to show a 0.7 increase. Then we have capacity of utilization expected to come in at 0.76. So there's a lot to digest from a fundamental standpoint today, and those 3 particular reports are going to be material to the market sentiment. But everything ahead of the Fed meeting starts today. We won't hear anything from the Fed until tomorrow when they finish their 2-day meeting. But we're going to expect to see some continuation of things. And I don't think they're going to confront any of the really big issues out there. I think we'll see more of the same, but I'll cover that in tomorrow night's video in detail as it becomes clearer on what's likely to happen. Also yesterday, the Fed was definitely buying some 10-year securities. They put a nice bid in there, knocked them off their high print, and that was significant. I'm going to go through some of the details on the yield curve. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts and take a look at the WaveTech database to see exactly what's set up for Tuesday. As I review the WaveTech database, we did see a little bit of buying. We saw about 426 new buys. We saw 150 sell signals, basically a slight bullish ratio on one and positive on another, but we continue to hang around this 31% bullish level. What I want to discuss tonight is a couple of things that I've been talking about is the sectors, and I mentioned back in November that energy and financial were going to be very strong sectors, and we can see just from February on the short-term models, we're seeing the energy up 20%. On an intermediate, it's up 40 some odd percent since its entry. which happened back in December, but the financials and the energy continue to be bright spots. Now, yesterday's action, we did see 9 of the 11 sectors, but the 2 sectors that were down yesterday were these 2, energy and financial. But I still think they have a fair amount to go on the upside as that rotation's going to continue from that standpoint. Let's take a look at the portfolio that I mentioned earlier, and I want to look at the Buffett portfolio that I built last May. It finished the year up 102%. It's up on a short-term basis 25%, but I built the intermediate model back in November, and I said that you want to switch over to the intermediate models. And what these do is they look at the weekly charts and look at those intermediate models. You folks have heard me over and over again tell you that the intermediate models and the intermediate trends are driving this market. This is a classic example of that, where we can see this portfolio is right now up 39.41%. It's at an all-time new high. After today, we saw an explosion. We saw an explosion in a lot of the airline stocks. You can look across the board here. Since these entered back in November and December, there's been a huge move on the upside. We're looking at American Airlines up 52%, up 50% Allegiant, and the Boeing is up 71%. We also have Spirit Airlines, which is actually the big return, is in that one, up 117%. So all of these symbols have performed well, and they look like they're going to continue to move. If you come to my live stream on Wednesday, I'll cover this in more detail at that time. As I begin the review of the S&P, I mentioned in the opening comments that I was looking at yesterday with an S1 R2 type pattern, and we definitely got that. You can see the low was 39.22, S1 was 39.29, R2 39.69.50. The high yesterday on the futures 39.69.75. I continue to talk about the lack of momentum. Now, the momentum that I'm talking about is a short-term momentum, and a lot of times these rallies will move up on low momentum. It doesn't mean that they're going to fail. It just shows that the market is climbing a very slow incline and there's not any excesses in the market. So it can continue these low volatility, low momentum rallies, but there is some vulnerability in these type of patterns. And if we just look back at what happened in February, it did a very similar pattern where it rolled up and then it just kind of flattened out. And it looks like we're trying to flatten out here. But with the Fed meeting this week, with everything that's going on that I talked about in the opening comments, I believe market participants will continue to look for a more positive market. As we go to the SPX, you'll see yesterday it was able to print up to the R3 number on the cash. There's a lot of differences because of the trading cycles on the futures versus the cash, but we did see an R3 on the cash at 39.70, and the high was 39.70.08. The R3 was 39.70.37. S2 was 39.25.65. So we got an S2 R3, which is a pretty volatile day, decent range compared to the last 3 to 5 sessions and what we've been seeing. As I mentioned, there's a slight bid in the futures overnight. It's nothing material as of yet, but we're likely to see today, as we go to the market grid for the SPX for today, we're likely to see a S1 R2 number, which would be 39.59, 39.89. It will need to penetrate through R1. That will be the signal to go to the R2 number, obviously. So R1 is 39.78, and then R2 39.89. And as I mentioned in the analysis yesterday, the key number on the weekly chart is 39.80. So that will set us up to challenge R1 on a weekly, and the next level is 4,021. And so as we look back over the last couple of weeks, We just continue to hover along that 10-period moving average. We did trade down below it a couple of weeks ago. We traded a little below it last week, and now this week we will continue above that. And I mentioned that there was a possibility, but I didn't think it would happen, that we would go down to 38.61. That looks like that's completely off the board right now. But it won't take a lot to signal this market on an intermediate basis to continue this upward slope, in that 10-period moving average, which is rising about 20 handles per week, will continue to be the dominant demand line in this pattern. As we review the NASDAQ, I talked about this last night, that we would move up toward the 10-week moving average, 13,159. We're currently trading 13,120. The high so far tonight, 13,127. So we're definitely moving toward that level. The PPM1 is flat. It's at 0.02. So that suggests that the 10-week moving average could easily be penetrated. And as we look at this is the weekly chart. As we look at this, we are likely to see, at least in the R1, which would equal that number, which is R1 is 13,154. There is now a higher probability that we're going to see a R2 at 13,412. We'll see how this pattern sets up in the next couple of days to determine whether there's more strength than that. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. We're coming into these key moving averages. 13,051, which we're above, is the 21-period moving average. The 40, 13,221. So there's still a cluster between the 13,150, 13,220. That's going to be some resistance, but we're starting to see PPM 1, 2, and 3 on a daily starting to turn up. So this suggests that we could continue to see a move higher in the NASDAQ, and possibly going to an R3, which going to 13,311, which would punch through that 40-day moving average. The next market that I'll cover is the 10-year treasuries, and we did see an RXT sell on Friday. So we got a lower close today. We're likely to see at least one more lower close on this, moving back toward the moving average, which is right now at the 1.54 level. We should remain above that. PPM 1 is at a 1.06. It suggests there's only a 10% probability for it to decline below that. Depending on how this market closes today, to see what type of actions the Fed is taking around their meeting is also going to be key in telling us what they're likely to do. Now, there's some serious momentum on the 10-year, and it's likely to continue to move higher. As I take a quick look at the 530 spread, we continue to see it basically still in a steepener, which is suggesting that the Fed is controlling this in a range. And if this spread makes a new high, that will suggest that we're going to surge to the next level on the 10-year, and that the long rates will actually move up probably to 172 to 175 on the 10-year. So this is something I'll be watching very closely. The final market that I'll cover tonight is gold. Gold has got a slight bid in it. It's trading at 1733. We're coming up on that 21-period moving average. It's dropped to 0.23 on PPM2. The PPMs are starting to cross their first and second derivatives, which suggests that we're likely to move higher up into the pattern, moving toward ultimately 1780, 1790 level, going up to test that 40-period moving average. So you can see the PPMs are sloping upwards and starting to accelerate. We go over to the weekly chart. What we're going to see here on the weekly grid is that we should move toward the R2 number, 1759. The extreme would be 1780. That would be above that 40-period moving average and just below the 21-week moving average. So you can see the ultimate is probably around 1783, which is the 10-period moving average. Everything seems to be pointing that we're going to move into the 1750, 1780 levels over the next several days. This will complete the video for tonight. Thank you for watching. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when I post my next videos and when I do my live streams. Thanks again for watching.